Hello, everybody. Oh, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Bailey's got to do her thing. Am I good? Am I great? Oh. Welcome, everybody, to the Remodelers on the Rise show. My energy level is usually high, but I'm kind of trying to amp it up so that I can hang with the energy level of my guest today. If you're watching the video, she just shook her hands like this. Callie, is your energy level always pretty high, would you say?
It's super
Is it
high
high
all the
and then you
time.
get at a certain point at night, do you like hit a wall?
Yes, I absolutely hit a wall.
Okay. Okay. Have you always been kind of high energy since you were a kid or what?
100%. Like from day one, I've always had a ton of energy. And ironically, my name in Celtic or Sanskrit or something like that, it means energy. So.
So her name is Callie Sudbrook, and she's with Beachside Interiors, folks, out in beautiful California. Specifically, where in California?
Orange County, Costa Mesa, Newport Beach area, for those of you who know where that is.
What is one thing you love about that area, and what is one thing you don't like about that area?
Oh God, like the sunshine and the beaches, like you literally cannot get anything better than these beaches, especially for surfing. Obviously, the thing that I hate most or dislike the most, I should say, is the traffic.
Hmm,
It's bad.
it's brutal. And
Yeah.
actually, when I said that, I said, "What did you love the most?" And you even corrected yourself there when you said hate. You're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, dislike," because I think maybe I'm just hypersensitive to it because I don't like it when my kids say, "I hate." I'm like,
Ye
"Hey, we don't
yeah,
talk like that." But also, I feel like if we say I hate it, then it just makes a bad thing even worse.
totally. And to be quite honest, I use the time sitting in traffic to learn. So I listen to your podcast,
Obviously,
audiobooks, things
that's
like that. So, I'm bettering myself as I'm doing something that I dislike.
there you go. There you go. I met Callie back in September of 2023. She's out in California. I'm in Michigan, and we met over in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota.
It
Do you
was
remember
gorgeous.
that, Callie?
I do. How could I forget?
I don't know.
I
Maybe it
I
wasn't that memorable.
met you while I was running in the indoor mall at 6 a.m.
I do recall that. It's all coming back to me now. Yes, you
You're like,
were, and
who
I
is
think
this
I was.
crazy girl?
Yeah, and I think I may have just been like leaving a nice heavy breakfast, and I'm like, oh, that's so obnoxious. She's up early, she's exercising. Yes, but she came to Michael Anchel with OA Design Build in Minneapolis. Him and I put on an event called COPE, Cost of Project Execution, and Callie came to that, spent a few days doing there. So it was wonderful to meet you there. And then I've been following you on Instagram. We've exchanged a message here and there. But in particular, I wanted to have Callie on today's show because, one, just to hear her story, hear some lessons learned. I think just people sharing their remodeling business story is always helpful, especially when you're somebody that's continually working on getting better. But in particular, she has, I say, niched down. She's probably fancy, and you probably say niched down out
Niche.
in California. Niche, potato, tomato. But she's niched down to specific types of remodeling projects. And that's primarily what I want us to talk through is the strategy of that and the pros and cons of that. But before we get into that, can you share a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about your story, and kind of how you came into remodeling, and then we'll dig into the shift you made this year.
Sure. So I'm going to give you the quick and dirty here. So I'm a B2 remodeling contractor, which is a somewhat new category in California. So there's general B and there's B2. So back in the day, 15 years ago, I was in the fitness industry. So I worked at a local university, UC Irvine, as a fitness director. And so I worked there, loved it, absolutely was obsessed with my job, had a blast. And I think COVID hit for a lot of us and made us sort of reassess what we were doing with our lives. And so
Hmm.
at the time, my wife and I had been remodeling our own home, and I was just having so much fun. And I would be sitting in these meetings, 12 years in, I was kind of getting a little jaded, if you will, with the academia and all the rigmarole of that. And so I would be sitting in these meetings, these soul sucking meetings, going, I wonder what tile I'm going to use in our new bathroom.
Hmm.
And I just was obsessed with this process. And so it hit a point, everything shut down for the pandemic. And I found myself doing a lot of content creation because, well, we couldn't be in person. So I was going to be on video showing people what they could do at home
Hmm.
and how they could maximize their fitness while stuck, in their own house. And so then I kind of hit a point when we came back into the office where, I had all these years of experience. I had been remodeling our home and some other friends' homes at the same time, some bathrooms and, little things here and there, having a total blast doing this. And with the social media aspect, I got to a point where I didn't really find the joy in my job anymore, in my career.
Mm.
And my wife was just like, I fully support whatever you want to do, but she's like, you know what you want to do. And I was like, I don't know if I can. It's scary, all the things. But I quit. And it was like sheer panic and terror quitting a salaried position with pension and,
Oh,
a
no.
stable paycheck and all the things. And then opening my own remodeling business, not knowing what the heck I was doing most days. I
Wow.
still don't, for full transparency. But that's kind of where I am today, is rocking and rolling and running a remodeling business where I focus solely on fitness spaces only.
Ooh, people are intrigued
I
by that.
know.
Now you made it when you said I quit my job, you made it sound all dramatic, like you went in there and you like threw your stuff down. Were you all dramatic about it, or did you just
No, I just
kindly
a
give them your
proper
2 weeks?
2 week notice,
Yes. Yes.
and yeah.
Yeah. So even in that, I think for people listening to this, there's decent number of people listening to some of these episodes that are thinking about starting their own thing. Even you kind of saying, oh, I'm just really want to start this new thing. That takes me back to 2008 for me, of just that feeling, and I think for anybody, maybe there's two people listening to this of going, psst, hey, maybe it's time you take the leap. You take the
Right?
leap.
Totally.
I had advice early on that was kind of like, the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be, and I found that to be the case. So, well, kudos to that. So you just went after it. So the
I
first
did.
several years, you started kind of just doing regular remodeling, kind of learning the business side. Obviously, even coming to Cope was thinking through the systems, the pricing. Talk to us about this shift of going, instead of casting my net out there to kitchens and bathrooms and all these different projects, I've got this background in fitness. I'm starting to see some of those projects. I'm going to niche down to this specific type. Talk to us about kind of your thought process on that.
Well, it wasn't really a thought process. It was more of like an aha moment.
Hmm.
Through my first year, I was just cutting my teeth, losing lots of money, not knowing what the heck I was doing. And finally, just through happenstance, I met Michael. He was like, you need to come to this Cope class. And so I went and I thought, this is great and all, but I still don't see how this is going to be viable, because at the time,
Pause there. Michael did half the teaching. I did half the teaching. Which one of us would you say was your favorite teacher during that?
obviously you. I mean, there's the handsome part, there's the funny part, there's all the things. So
Yeah, I'm just gonna take a picture of us doing this so that I can text Michael that later and just let him
and
know he
let
needs
him
to.
know what I said. So,
Yes. Even the
it's
handsome
on
part.
record.
It was like humor. You hit on humor, intelligence, handsomeness, all of it. Thank you very much. And I'm sure you would
Hey,
tell him the same thing if you were talking to him. But
thank
carry on.
yourself.
You're at this Cope thing. Like, how is this going to work for me? Carry on.
Yeah, so it was just a matter of obviously implementing it, knowing my numbers, which I still am grappling with. As you grow, it's like, okay, you have to reassess things. But anyway, I digress. The point being is, it kind of happened simultaneously in the same month, where I was doing a job for a colleague, a former fitness colleague, for his home gym that he was also going to be using as a fitness filming studio for his athletes. And so it turned out amazing. I had so much fun doing this job that I thought, there might be something to this. And then I listened to your podcast with Lauren, where you guys were talking about she only does kitchens, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing kitchens makes it easier and all these things. And I went, maybe there's something to this. And then, same like in the same month, I spoke with my business coach, and I was just lighting up telling her how much fun I was having on this job with my colleague. And she's like, I think there might be something to this for you. And I thought, well,
Mm.
no, 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 no. I mean, kitchens, that's one thing, and specializing in bathrooms, that's another thing. But I can't just do fitness spaces. That's crazy. Like, there's not enough people who want that, probably. And she's like, are you sure?
Mm.
So it was like double whammy. You and my business coach hit me at the same time, and I thought, man, I think there's something to this. And I sat on it for a week, and then I went to my website and took everything off that was not fitness inspired.
Wow.
And the
Whew.
rest is history.
Again, being dramatic again, just I'm gonna get rid of all of that. Several things I heard in that. One was even in listening to your story, and I think it's helpful for people listening to this to think about it. There's a little sometimes we have to do work that just kind of feels like work, but we do our best work when we are passionate about it. It's interesting that, previous job compared to remodeling, oh, this was so much better. And then now you're in the business and you're like, okay, other jobs are this. You've kind of followed the energy and the passion towards it. And I think that's a good thing for all of us to reflect on there. And then, you also added like, wow, this was amazing. This was fun. Everybody listening to this, pay attention to not only the types of projects that you do that kind of light you up, because you're going to be able to market and sell those better. But also think about, for all of us as business owners, think about the work that lights us up. What aspects of your business light you up, and what aspects are and we can work to replace the with people that actually lights them up. True story. People love sitting in front of QuickBooks and entering things in. It lights them up. So I know that's not necessarily what we're talking about there, but I think that's a good lesson that I'm just hearing, and that I think we all listening to this can kind of grapple with. You also mentioned you listened to the podcast. Is it Laurel Webster
All right,
with
yeah.
She? Yep, no problem. With She Builds. So if you type in Laurel Webster She Builds Kitchen, they're up in Oregon. I don't know. One of there, and
Oregon.
they have really focused in on a specific type of project. So if as we go through here and you're listening to Callie and her focus, that would be another one
Of
to
course.
listen to. Cool. So all of a sudden you went, you know what? I am going to limit my messaging. I'm going to start putting that out there for this. Tell us kind of what transpired. When was that, by the way?
Oh, that was early last year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was still doing other just remodeling jobs, whole house, kind of refreshes and things like that. And to be honest, full transparency here, I'm still doing token jobs, let's say, that are not fitness related. Like I'm doing my dad's whole house remodel right now, but I would never sign up to do anyone else's whole house remodel.
Yeah.
It's like I want to stay in my lane, and not that like you can't go outside your lane, but I just love the fitness spaces so much that that's all I want to focus on.
Yeah.
When
Have you
it's your
found?
dad, it's
Yeah,
like another
it's a little
story.
different. Have you found that even though you are marketing and everything for that specific type of project, obviously your dad's project's unique, but have other people kind of said, well, do you do bathrooms or do you do kitchens? Are you still getting some of that?
Well, it's funny you ask that because I had one job where I did a different person's garage, and then he and his wife called me back to do some like additions to their kitchen. So it's like sort of added on
Yeah,
to the ticket of, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's like, sure, I can do that, but I would never again market to anybody that I can do that because
yeah,
physically I can do it, but I don't want to
yes,
usually, unless it's
yes.
for an amazing client.
Yeah, and it's important again for everybody listening. If this idea is interesting to you, one, when you start marketing for something specific, that doesn't mean that other things will totally dry up.
Of course.
Two, like even when I said, you know what, I'm not a business coach for everybody anymore. I just work with remodelers. There was a season or two that I was still working for that CPA and still working for that IT company. So, this
Exactly.
sometimes takes time to kind of build that message and momentum up. So it's been 18, 19 months. Have you kind of started to get some really nice traction? What are you experiencing in your business on this?
I've had a ton of traction, a lot of referrals from trade partners, actually. So I have a guy that does rubber gym flooring, and he's referred a ton of people to me that just want gyms because clearly, if you're getting rubber flooring, that's what you want is a gym.
Hmm.
So it's been like really great making these collaborations and these partnerships with people in the community that we're giving back to each other's businesses, obviously. And that's really helped me tremendously.
Hmm. Super interesting. Tell us a little bit more about what have you found from. Let's talk about kind of the branding and maybe the marketing side a little bit. If people, by the way, so they'll hear it at the end too. But if they wanted to follow you on Instagram, what's your Instagram
It's
handle?
Beachside Interiors underscore OC. That's my business page. And then I have my own personality, which is Callie the contractor. That's
Callie the
more of like a day in the
contractors,
life of what I do.
and that's Callie with a K.
Yep, Callie with a K.
Okay, so she's putting out a lot of content, so be sure to look at that. So tell us about kind of so you updated the website. What else have you done from kind of a rebranding, from a marketing standpoint that seems to have solidified kind of this messaging of what you're targeting?
Well, I wanted to make sure my Google page, my website, and my Instagram all had the same information because at one point I was doing something and I looked at my Google page and I thought, that doesn't even jive with what I'm doing anymore, you know? So it was like making sure that everything had the same messaging, number one. Number two, I took my logo, which this is my old logo for those of you who are watching because I have not gotten my new polos yet, but I basically took this was which Beachside Interiors was just sort of like this overarching remodeling company, could appeal to anybody. I took my logo and made it a little bit more masculine, a little bit more edgy, a little bit more bold, if you will, less cursive type fonts and just made it appeal to my target, my ideal client, which is a male 30 to 50 years old, fitness entrepreneur type person, and they want some sort of fitness space in their home. And I actually had my one of my most recent clients, he said, "Your website's great. I love your brand. Like, this is awesome." So it was good to have that validation of that's my target client and he's telling me that whatever I'm putting out is working.
Is resonating, is getting his attention.
Exactly.
Good. I love that. And then you mentioned kind of your trade partners referring, and you call it trade partners, slash strategic partners in the case of the referrals, anybody who shares the same ideal client as you do. It's so interesting. It's one of the big marketing benefits of narrowing down is when something specific. So in your case, when somebody's talking about a gym, you immediately a gym renovation, I want to put this into my home, you are the one that immediately comes to mind. And when we specialize, it increases the, I would argue, the actual true value, and also just the flat out perspective from their standpoint of going, well, obviously this person knows what they're doing, this is not their first rodeo, and it builds that emotional value as well. So I just want to touch on kind of the marketing part and the branding part. I'll let everybody kind of click in and see what you're doing there. So much of running an effective remodeling business comes down to having solid processes, a good sales process, a good design and development process. What have you seen as kind of benefits of, since narrowing your focus, when it comes to your processes and kind of the steps you're walking people through?
So that was a big thing for me is I didn't have when I was just doing any old remodeling job, I didn't really have a process. I didn't have a client experience or a client journey necessarily. I just thought, okay, you want this space done? Let me do some work on the back end and figure it out. And I was losing money like crazy because then I started learning, okay, if I'm really truly designing this space, I need to be charging for design, number one. Number two, I can't just design it and then go straight into construction. I need to do some sort of pre construction to show, hey, this is what the pricing is going to be. This is what the budget is, all these things, right? So I implemented a pre construction process, which sounds silly. It's like, okay, it's just a gym. But no, there's actually a lot that goes into it. There's electrical, there's plumbing, especially if it's a shared, like multifunctional space with maybe a laundry room or a home office. There's other things that need to happen
Mm.
in this space at the same time. And so then finally we get to the construction aspect. And so it was really kind of taking a couple steps back, slowing down and going, what should this client's experience be going through my process? And then dialing that in.
So how where are you at right now as far as what you're charging or how you're approaching that pre-planning and design work?
So yeah, they sign up for basically a design agreement, and I estimate basically how many hours I perceive that's going to be after doing a site visit, which I charge for, by the way. So I come out, I take measurements, I scan the room with Canvas, and then as soon as they say, yes, this looks good, your proposal looks great, I give them all the deliverables and basically a schedule of these are when we're going to have calls and site visits. And then they send the money and I press go for the Canvas 3D scan. So then that goes, that gets paid for. And as soon as I get that back, I start on the 2D stuff. Then we do a walkthrough together with the 2D. We go back to okay, that looks great. We'll go to the 3D stuff, elevations, things like that. And it's just really step by step because you're thinking this space, it's I guess maybe akin to a kitchen,
Hmm.
moving and shaking in this space, right? You don't want to be bumping into drawers and bumping into shelves and things like that. You don't want to be opening a door and you hit somebody who's doing a squat with a heavy
That
barbell,
would not
right?
be, it wouldn't be good.
No, not at all.
No.
So it takes a lot of planning and foresight for that
Yeah.
stuff.
It's gonna continue to develop for you, but remodelers listening to this, you could hear she just articulated the step by step, even from the canvas. And I don't process this. And you're doing a little bit more kind of hourly for design development. This is how we work. Our 5 very powerful words for everybody listening to this,
I
whether
stole
you
that
are
from you, by the way.
good.
I did. I totally did. I say whenever a client says like, "Okay, what's this process look like?" I said, "This is how we do it here," and I walk them through the process.
Bingo, bango, step by
Yep.
step, and they want that. That's us delivering value. So you're getting really clear with that, which is powerful. I'm also It's so interesting. Two things that about your specific niche. One is yes, kitchens. I already have a kitchen. I'm updating the kitchen. That's cool. It's going to be more functional. Awesome. It's going to look better. Cool. I would imagine for a lot of your clients, maybe they're remodeling an existing space, but there's a lot of excitement around kind of a whole brand new space, which is exciting. And then it's so interesting. And as remodelers think about niching down, this might come into play, but it's so interesting how your years in personal training and in the fitness space makes you probably so much more effective when you're able to say, well, no. You're probably not saying, well, we probably shouldn't put this there. You're going, we're not going to put this there. Here's why. We need this amount of
Yes.
space. You need about 7 feet to kind of do this. You're talking about the flooring, and hey, when you do this, you're going to throw it. You hear my fitness expertise. When you take those heavy weights, when you
I'm
take those heavy
impressed.
weights and you put them above your head and then you throw it down because they're so heavy, we need to make sure the floor is strong. But it's interesting how your experience is really tying in nicely with your focus and your
Well,
niche.
and to kind of add to that, let's say it's in a garage and you have a garage door. Okay, if you're lifting a barbell which has plates on it that are 20 inches overhead, is that going to crash into anything overhead like a garage door? So like the placement matters of things. I mean, it's cool. Like it's fun to sort of put the pieces all in the space.
No doubt. My dad just backed into his garage door a couple weeks ago. Classic. Classic. My mom came up
See?
for one of the kids' volleyball matches and she goes, "Look at this picture." And all she said was, "I'm so glad it wasn't me." In other words, he has to be the one to go, "Oh, I did it." So
Yep.
yes,
Yep.
whether it's backing your car into it or thinking of the space, super interesting. What else have you kind of learned, or what else when you think of other remodelers who might be considering niching down, what advice would you have for them, or what else have you really found to be of benefit with this?
Oh God, I'm terrible at giving advice. I guess my first inkling would to be like, hey, if you even have the thought of I kind of am interested in just doing this one thing,
Hmm.
you kind of already decided. Like your body has decided, your mind has decided. It's just emotional you haven't yet.
Hmm.
So I think if it keeps coming up, if it keeps sort of showing its face and in spontaneous ways in your life, it's probably for a reason.
Hmm. Yeah, and it can be scary. And your business was still fairly young when you made the decision. It's similar to me. It wasn't a
Sure.
huge risk for me because it's like, well, the business, I don't need a lot to kind of get it going. For those of you listening that might be a little further along in the remodeling journey, again, you don't have to hit a 180 right away. You can start to, maybe it's rebranding, maybe it's creating more of a landing page. But there's tremendous value in the niches. When you are a specialist, your value goes up. Would you say that you are charging a premium since you are a specialist, Callie?
Absolutely. I
Oh, good.
absolutely am. And probably still not as much as I should. I'm still working on that. It's more of an emotional thing, but still, I am charging way more than I did just doing basic remodeling. And that's not to like denigrate basic remodeling. That's just
Yeah.
not my jam.
Yep. And if it wasn't for me sitting down and I'm on a podcast, I would stand up and give you some golf clapping of going, I am charging more than I used to. Part of that is just your confidence level building. Part of that is realizing, you know what? The value that I bring to a project like this surpasses anybody in this area around me. And a lot of when we think about pricing, a lot of it is just between ours. And if we're apologizing for our pricing, or if we don't think we deserve that much, clients can kind of sense that. So my main goal with this podcast, Callie, was to introduce you to some folks, but also
I
to give
appreciate
people
that.
to give people some food for thought, maybe some new thoughts related to niching down. The other thing that I would like to spend a little bit of time on is, and I didn't send any of this over to you, so you're gonna have to think on the fly
That's
because I
okay.
because we run a professional operation over at Remodelers on the Rise. I make sure my guest is comfortable. We send some questions I might ask you around here, but one that I would want to ask you about is remodeling companies. And I've seen a little bit more effort going on in the last year, I would say. But marketing is about building know, like, and trust. And in 2025, that's coming up, it is going to be more important to be telling your story in content on your website and social media. It's going to be even more important in 2028 to continue to create custom, interesting content about who you and your company are. Generic content, keeping things, just having something out there is okay, but the more you are behind the camera, getting comfortable with it and really promoting
Yes.
your business, the better. So with that said, this is an area that you have spent a lot of effort and time in. One, for your business. Two, almost developing a little bit of a social media personality, if you will. Do you have like sponsors sometimes too?
Not yet,
Not
but
yet.
I
Okay,
will.
it's coming up.
Yep.
So, talk to us about what you've learned, or what you don't like to give advice. So, more what you learned, and maybe if there was a remodeler going, okay, I need to be creating more content. What's some advice and some things you've learned related to consistent content creation?
I think, it's a learning curve, obviously, of just figuring out what works, what doesn't. But the main thing for me personally is getting in front of the camera. I cut my teeth on that when I was in the fitness space. Being in front of the camera then, I won't say I hated it. I really
There
disliked it.
there are things we can hate. You may have
Yeah.
hated it, but
But
yes.
I just felt very uncomfortable in my own skin in front of the camera, and I would mess up constantly, and it was horrible, right?
Well, maybe
But
your
I
hair wasn't as cool back then.
it wasn't actually. I had a
See, that was a
ponytail, so
problem. Once you got the
yeah.
cool hair, you're like, throw me in front of a camera. I look
Problem solved,
awesome.
right? Yeah. So, but now I feel comfortable because I put in the time, and it was not pretty early on. It was,
Hmm.
I was not as polished, and I'm still not as polished. I think there's something likable about just being authentic and messing up, maybe dropping a couple swear words every now and again, just keeping it real, right?
Hmm.
That's my,
You curse in your content?
I do. I know.
Oh
Shame
my,
on me. I
my.
can't, sometimes I can't help it.
That sneaks out.
Yeah, I know. Kyle's secretly judging me here as we sit
I
here, but
Hey, don't. I am not.
it's not a
It is.
secret, no?
It actually is funny because I don't cuss a lot. Although lately, I'd say in the last 3 months, I've been dropping some. I'm not dropping an f bomb, but I've been
Yeah,
dropping some things to a couple of my clients. They're like, "Whoa, whoa, what's going on over there?"
you're
Usually,
feisty.
I just don't do it. So then some people are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," when they just let it out. I'm like, "It's fine. I can
Yeah.
handle it." So you're but more comfortable in your skin in that, and just the practice and the
Yes.
reps.
Yes, you have to put in the reps. It's like the gym, right? You got to put in the reps, you got to build the muscle, and it was not easy at first. So now, I can just kind of do things off the cuff. I do like to be a little bit more polished and have a script when I can, but
Hmm.
let's be honest, I'm busy. It's most of the time it's just got to be like word vomit. Here you go. This is my day. And
Yeah.
people start to get to know you, like the real
Yes.
you.
Yes. And would you say a lot of what you're trying to do with content is just kind of just documenting your day and documenting what's going on, and mixing in of going, this is why we're doing this and we're installing this. Are you just kind of showing a lot of the process, and is that kind of your approach to a lot of it?
Yes, but there is a method to the madness. So I recently listened to a different podcast, not your amazing podcast, a
Yeah.
different one,
You've
right?
hey,
I mean,
you've already complimented me enough. You don't owe me anything else.
they all can't be remodelers on the rise, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they had talked about basically taking your clients through a social media journey. So, hey, we just got this new client inquiry, getting on and showing your face and just showing some excitement about that. Then the next step is like, hey, we're going to do a job walk, come with us, let's go see it. And then the
Hmm.
next step is like, okay, look, these are the 2D plans, look at what we've have planned for this client in this space. And literally every touch point of that project, you're showing some sort of content so that people can go, oh, that's that job. And maybe you give it a hashtag. And so I have one right now. It's the Mojo Dojo Casa House, because
Mm.
my client's daughter was really into the Barbie movie. So I had no idea that was from the Barbie movie, but that's what we're calling this project. And so it's been really fun to show the progress and document and kind
Yeah.
of take people along with the journey. And
Yeah.
then you finally get to the end and it's like, I saw what it looked like before, right?
Yeah. And great for social media, but also great for your website. I think there's some more polished content we can create of going, you when I asked you about your process, you were articulating it step by step. For us to show that on, I come to the website, I click our process, and it's specific around gyms, it's showing examples, it shows the 2D, it shows step by step, whether that's some video, whether it's written out, it's incredibly powerful for that. Good. So that hopefully we encourage some people to think about niching down. We also encourage some people to get in front of the camera. It is going to be more
Yes.
and more important. And the final thing I wanted to ask about is the analogy that you just used of, getting reps in. It's kind of like working out. I want you to riff on that a little bit. The more I live on this here earth, I'm in my 40s now, so I've got old man wisdom. I think I can.
I'm almost there. I'm catching up to you.
Are you scared about turning 40?
No, but I'll probably have a meltdown just because that's my personality.
I would say my wife in the year leading up was like, I don't know about turning. I'm so old. I thought I would have accomplished so much more by then. She was just all in her head. And then she turned 40 and she was like, "Oh, this is kind of nice."
Yeah.
I don't she I think one thing aspect is like, I just don't care what other people think about me so much anymore. Ooh, is this part of being 40s? So
Great.
from the future, the 40s are just fine and dandy. Although I
Okay.
am noticing I used to do like 100 crunches a day. When I'm in a good workout routine, I'm doing 100 crunches a day. And if I just did that every day and didn't eat like a total idiot, like it was decent. And now all of a sudden I'm like, crap, I got to do more to burn. It's like, anyways. So, but what I've found in these old man ages
It
is
sounds like you need a home gym, Kyle.
no, I don't, unless a
Okay.
personal trainer came. I have all kinds of self discipline in my business and in other areas of my life. Working out, I need somebody to know I'm supposed to be there at that time. I enjoy it when I'm
Totally.
there, but anyways, you've heard that a million times, I'm sure. But I think about this analogy and it just holds true in so many different facets. And I think we overcomplicate it. If I want to be healthy, I need to eat reasonably, I need to exercise regularly, and I need to put in reps. If I want to be a good business person, I need to study the various systems in my business. I need to understand financials. I need to review it consistently. I need to be a student of sales. If I want to be a good spouse, I need to not let this distract the crap out of me. I need to actually be intentional with my spouse and like care about them and serve them. If I want to be intentional in the spiritual life or in my faith life, I need to have some quiet time and I need to put some consistent focus in it. So much of the goals that we want or progress we want in life is not some magic bullet. It's consistency in doing it. And I feel like you probably have something to riff off that a little bit when it comes to health and comes to different things. What comes to your mind for that?
Honestly, the consistency is probably the key for everything because like working out, if you work out, once a week and it's like every time you work out, you're going to be sore. It's going to be painful. It's going to suck, right? And it's like if you only look at your numbers and your, profit and loss every quarter, right? It's going to hurt and you're not going to know what the heck is working and what is not. Like if you only work out and eat right one day a week, was it that you ate right that one day a week? Was it that you worked out that one day a week? What was it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's having that regularity and the consistency. Like it could be crappy. Like a crappy workout is better than no workout at all. And same thing with like, okay, trudging through the numbers and figuring out what you're doing. And I had a coach that said messy action is better than inaction. And I've just kind of held that in my mind's eye for as long as I can remember since I started my business because
Say
it's
that one
like
again. Say it again. Messy.
messy action is better than inaction. So it might not look pretty, it might not be the best. I might not be a pro at it yet, but I'm working towards that. And so it's better than just throwing in the towel and going, well, I don't understand this.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I will understand it one day better than I do right now.
Yeah. And I think the business side, I think, is similar on the health side. If I'm like, one, I think a lot of us know what we need to do, whether business, whether health. And then, as soon as we throw in the towel on the health side, we know what that outcome is going to be. Our body's going to continue to atrophy. We're going to get sore and sore. Illness is going to happen. We're going to get fatter. We're going to get more lethargic. Our energy level, and similar. If I ignore all of the important things in the business, so some food for thought there. And then, personally speaking, let's say I've tried. Let's say what. Here's what I'm going to do. I want you to go not back to your general remodeling work that you were doing. I want you to go back another life that you had
Another
in the
lifetime
fitness
ago.
space. And I say,
Yeah.
Callie, I was doing pretty good. I hired a personal trainer earlier this year. I did about 25 sessions. Didn't really enjoy it too much.
Yeah, that's tough.
I've done some Orange Theory in the past, and that's not been bad. I kind of like the cardio. I'm not really looking to get buff. It's more like kind of the midsection and just consistency with it. But Callie, I'm a busy businessman. But I tell you what, the stuff I have at home, I never do it because I just don't do it. What's your advice? What's your advice for little old me?
So I would say keep trying stuff because you never know what's
Hmm.
going to stick. So you might have this friend that raves about Orange Theory and you do it and you're like, yeah, that's kind of cool, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't stick, right? So keep trying stuff. You might go to a powerlifting gym and lo and behold, Kyle, you never knew that you were a power lifter at heart, but now you are and you're lifting heavy shit all the time and you're loving it,
Callie,
right?
maybe I'm a power lifter and I didn't know
Maybe
it.
you are. So this is the thing. There's always a different perspective. There's always a different way to do it, but you're still going to get from point A to point B, right? You're still going to get more fit. You're still going to be a better business owner. So it's just finding maybe the right coach, the right mentor, the right resources, like the 5-part downloadable series that you have on profit and numbers. And I forget what you
Go
call
to
it.
remodelers.com and click on free resources.
Exactly.
So you were
So
saying find something, keep testing things, and find something that would you even say almost enjoy?
yeah, like it
Huh.
resonates with you. It makes sense to you. Maybe it's broken down like a 5-year-old can understand it, like I need with numbers, and stuff for my
I've
brain.
played I've played pickleball twice in the last couple of weeks, health wise,
Hey, there you go. And that was
and I've
probably
enjoyed it.
really fun,
I
right?
did enjoy it.
See? And you probably
Okay.
were sweaty after.
When I played with my two sons yesterday, I was actually quite disappointed with my 18-year-old son. He pretty much kills me when we play
The
basketball,
D
and
word.
he pretty much kills me in basketball. He's 6'3", and my head turns beet red because I am just laying it all out because I'm stubborn as I absolutely clobbered him yesterday. I'm like, put up some like help me out here to have
Put
to
some
work a
effort
little
in.
bit. Yeah, he almost
Yeah.
lost to his 13-year-old brother. So I went undefeated yesterday. So I wasn't too sweaty after that. But in general, seeing some of those other people, so maybe that's it. So testing new things, that was encouraging to me and gives me some things to think about. And I bet you everybody listening to this has some things to think about. So, Callie, if they wanted to look you up or if they wanted to go to your website, tell them again how to get contact with you.
Sure. It's beachsideinteriorsremodeling.com is my website. And then we already talked about Instagram, but I'll throw it in there again. Beachside Interiors _OC and Callie the contractor.
Wonderful.
Callie
And if
with a
you're
K.
listening, if you're listening to this and you are a kind of a vendor of some sorts in the health space, somehow you came across this, sponsor my girl Callie. Let's get
Yeah.
her some sponsorship dollars. She's got a nice following out there, and let's turn her into a big old influencer because the
I don't know
world needs
about
to
that,
hear.
but
Well, I mean, a little bit. Kind of fun
yeah,
to have some scratch coming in. All right,
totally.
I'm using words like scratch and calling my podcast a pod to try to connect with the younger generation. Do you think it's working?
I dig it.
Oh, dig it, Callie. That was fun. Thank you so much for sharing your story and some of
Thank
your
you, Kyle.
experiences and wisdom.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much. I
you
appreciate
bet.
you.
Catch you later.
All right.